Hey guys, welcome back. I managed to read 2 books over the last weekend, and I thought that today I would do a wrap-up of those 2 books and kind of a review, because I had been doing Bailey's reviews, but now because one of the books is not actually shortlisted, I thought I would just include it in its own video with another one, because I do have a little bit to say about both of these. Who is that? Did you bring me a toy? I don't know if you can see that, but Zazu just came in and she has her hair tied. Okay, so the first book that I finished is The Essex Serpent by Sarah Perry. Now, I've been reading this book for a couple weeks and I wasn't really getting into it the way that I had expected to. I did really enjoy it at the end, and when I think back to it, I think I may just have had a wrong expectation for what this book was going to be. The Essex Serpent is about Cora, who is a recent widow. She has never really felt very at home in her house in London, so when her husband dies, she is very young, and she decides to move her and her son to this village close to Essex. It's kind of assumed that she's going to go back to London at some point, but for now she's very happy to be in this like little village. So the whole Essex Serpent comes in when she gets word that there has been some mysterious happenings in the village of Essex, and people are thinking that maybe there is this legend of the Essex Serpent. The Essex Serpent has come back in some fashion. Cora is very much a naturalist. She's very much a scientist. She is very excited about fossils and ancient beasts. This all kind of takes place around the 19th century. So we've got contemporaries like Mary Anning, who's considered to be the first woman geologist, as well as like the discovery of dinosaurs is just starting. So there's a lot of new things that are going on, a lot of new things being discovered, and Cora is kind of like at the forefront. She wants to know about it. You know, back in this time it wasn't really acceptable for women to be scientists. I was expecting from this was a story about a woman scientist. That's not really what the book is. It was a really good book. I did really enjoy it, but it was much slower than I was anticipating. And now thinking kind of back on it, I think it was my own fault, because I took the plot, like the basic plot that everybody had been telling me, and kind of inferred from that what I was hoping it was, and not really giving it a chance to be, you know, what it is. The story is much less about this Essex Serpent and much more about this family situation. So you've got Cora and her son, and then you meet a surgeon that she's quite fond of, and then a pastor's family whom she also becomes quite fond of, and everything just kind of starts building from there. It kind of reminds me of Daphne du Maurier and that kind of gothic, slow-moving story. I really liked Rebecca when I read it, and when I first started The Essex Serpent, that's all I could think of was how much this felt like an older book. It felt very much like a turn-of-the-century book, and everybody in it was very believable as a turn-of-the-century character. And the dynamics between the characters I loved. I thought the relationships between Cora and her friends was so genuine and so good to read about that was really what I enjoyed. This is definitely a book that I am going to be revisiting. You don't need the surprises of what's happening in order to enjoy the story. So the next book that I read, I actually picked up My Name is Leon, which is a short little book. I needed to pick up the short book first. I'm starting the Sport of Kings today, and I just thought the shorter book was gonna help me, and it really did. It is about a black boy living in the UK during the 80s. His father has, I think, gone to jail, and his mother is an addict of some sort, and she gets her children taken away, and that is Leon and his little brother Jake. Now, Leon and Jake have different dads, and Jake is white. At this time, when they are put into foster care, they are split up because Jake is very easy to adopt. He's a baby, he's white, there's going to be a family that wants him, and so they decide that they're going to split them up and try and adopt them separately. I mean, that's kind of it. They adopt Jake almost immediately, but it doesn't really ever look like somebody's attempting to adopt Leon. So I expected this book to be heartbreaking and sad. It demonstrated this really rough position that everybody is in when there is a problem like this in a family. So Leon in this book is 9 and then goes to I think about 13 or 12. It's told from the point of view of Leon, and because of that, a lot of the things that happen it's very obvious that he doesn't understand exactly what's going on, and it's completely believable. It's completely believable that Leon wouldn't really understand when the social worker is talking to him about, well, don't you want Jake to have a good life? Yes, of course. Don't you want him to have a family? Yes, of course. The answers that he gives a lot of the time are completely believable, that he would not totally understand what people are asking him or what the situation really means, because he's a child and he reacts appropriately. While this is a very sad book, I have to say that my favorite part about this is that not everybody is awful. So I think it is very easy to write a story about foster care and the foster system and make everybody a villain, make the foster family that you get put into abusive and awful, and make the foster system in general, the social service workers, awful and non-caring. The foster family that Leon gets put in is incredibly nice. They are looking out for him. They think that the way the social services is handling it is not good. They don't like the fact that they're splitting these kids up. He goes and he lives with a woman named Maureen who has had foster kids before, and it's so nice to see a story about foster care where as an adult I can see that she is a great foster mom, but Leon doesn't have the ability to see why he's not with his mother, because to him it was just the way things were. His mom needed help being taken care of, so he did it. And there's a section where Leon gets a bike, and he bikes off. There's these allotments, and these allotments of land where people farm. And he comes in contact with several people in this allotment, several different types of people. You immediately expect something awful to happen to him because he's off by himself. He's a young kid. He's going and talking to all of these people. Everyone is so nice. Everybody is trying to talk to him and teach him things. Again, you don't have to make everything tragic for it to be a tragic story. This is a very sad story about a family who can't stay together, and Leon's not understanding why they can't be together. But I think that it was handled incredibly well. The pacing of the book is incredibly quick. So the chapters are like 2 or 3 pages each. Now, an interesting point that I don't think I have this wrong. The author, Kit DeWall, was writing a book, and it was of Leon later in his life, and she decided that that wasn't the story she needed to tell first. The story she needed to tell first was of his childhood, so you got some context. Now, if I'm not mistaken, I think that means that she is going to be writing more about Leon and his life. And going into the book knowing that, I think made the enjoyment of it more, because you know that there's going to be more to his life, and there's going to be more to this story. Without that, I'm not entirely sure the story would feel complete. Obviously, I read it thinking that there was going to be like a follow-up story, but I'm not sure how I would feel if that was the only book about him. It's still a very honest and great depiction of a foster system, and it's realistic. It's a realistic depiction that these people are trying to help. I think it's very well written. You feel for Leon the entire time, and there's like points where you just want to be like, that's not what they mean. They don't mean they're gonna leave you. There's just points where you just want to like look at Leon and be like, I know that you're not understanding this, but let me explain it, because you're just not getting it yet. I would really encourage you to pick it up if it all sounds interesting. I think that is gonna do it for our video today, guys. Thanks so much for watching, and I will talk to you in another video very soon. Bye.